Do you know how a man can end up living inside an airport for 18 years without ever stepping outside? A janitor on his night shift notices a man sitting under the departure board with one old suitcase by his feet. Security walks up to him, and he quietly says, "I can't leave. No country will take me." In that moment, the airport feels less like a place for travel and more like a cage. And the reason he got trapped like this is something most people have never heard. Stay with me. If that surprises you, like if you love real-life history, subscribe for more true stories. He was Mehran Nasseri, born in Iran. He had a home, papers, and a life until a mix of rules, wars, and lost documents turned him into a man with no country. He arrived at Charles de Gaulle Airport in France in 1988, carrying a set of refugee papers. But officials found inconsistencies. They wouldn't let him leave, and he couldn't enter France legally. Therefore, he became trapped in a strange space that was both safe and impossible. A terminal full of people moving forward while he stayed frozen. At first, he slept on benches. He kept his belongings in shopping carts. Travelers gave him coins, sandwiches, or kind words. But those small comforts couldn't solve the big problem. He had no passport, no papers, and no home. The law left him invisible. The airport became a small city he ruled quietly, with routines, rules, and habits that kept him alive. Over time, he learned the schedules of the airport like a map. Which gates were warm in winter, which corners were quiet at night, which shops gave him leftover food without question. He created little systems to survive. Newspapers for bedding, luggage carts for storage, a careful rotation of benches for sleep. He learned to avoid the busiest security checks, to read the faces of travelers, and even to anticipate the moods of airport staff. People came to see him. Journalists, filmmakers, and tourists called him the Terminal Man. They were fascinated by the idea of someone living in a place designed to move people yet unable to move himself. But the legend often missed the truth. Living in an airport is exhausting, lonely, and uncertain. Every day, he faced security, cold nights, and the constant question of whether anyone would ever claim him. Sometimes hope appeared. A new document or a small legal breakthrough would promise freedom. But bureaucracy is slow and rigid. Doors opened for a moment and then closed again. Therefore, his life became a rhythm of waiting, watching, and surviving. He adapted. He learned to make small communities inside the airport. He made friends with shopkeepers who remembered him, cleaners who offered advice, and travelers who left books behind. He celebrated tiny victories, a newspaper to read, a coin found on the floor, a conversation that reminded him he still existed in the world outside. But even these small victories were tinged with the anxiety that tomorrow the law might change, a flight might arrive, or security might demand that he move. Most stories focus on the strangeness of his life, but the real lesson is deeper. Nasseri's story shows how fragile identity can be, how laws and borders can create spaces where people exist but do not belong, how a place meant for travel became a permanent home. It's a reminder that freedom isn't just about doors, it's about recognition and belonging. He finally left the airport years later, but the story lives on. The Terminal Man reminds us that some lives exist between walls, signs, and rules, in the shadow of systems that move the world around them while forgetting a single person. If you want to dive into another fascinating story of borders and how they shape lives, check out my video, How One Canal Changed an Entire Country's Borders. It's a story you won't forget.